Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 9, Episode 9, overall 449 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, as well as their great selection of all-electric vehicles, as well as their Cadillac products as well. You can give the dealership a call at 519-824-0210, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk in sports, weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. I hope everyone's doing well on this Thursday, October 31st, 2024. Happy Halloween to everyone watching this in Canada, in the States, and around the world. And I'm excited to have my guest on today. This is his third appearance. It's been a little while, but his name is Brian Koziol. He is the pre- and post-game host on WGR's 550 Buffalo Sabres Radio Network since 2007 and 2008. And he also hosts a golf show on WGR 550 as well. And we're going to bring on Brian Koziol, and we're going to talk a little Buffalo Sabres hockey today. Good afternoon, Brian. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on, Chris. Looking forward to it.
It's been a while. It's been a couple of years. That's how fast time goes by.
It has. Yeah, I feel like when you asked me, I'm like, oh, we just did one. And then when you said it was that long ago, I'm like, geez, that went fast. But that's kind of how it goes in the sports world too, right? We're on another season and another team to talk about.
Absolutely. Are you still hosting the golf show on WGR, the T2 Green Golf?
Yes. Myself and a couple of others on Saturday mornings. Right now, we're kind of in our off season. On WGR, we go from the beginning of March through football season, through the first weekend in September, where we're on Saturday mornings. But we do a podcast, which if people want to listen to it, you can find it on our social media handles, which is T2G Buffalo. But yeah, we do a podcast during the off season and get you everything you need to know about golf in Western New York and in this area. So it's been good golf weather for those that like to keep playing. It's been really nice for today, Halloween, and 75 degrees here in Buffalo. It's pretty wild.
Same here. I'm in Guelph, which isn't far from Buffalo, and it's probably about 70 degrees. And I wanted to ask you this too, since you're more of a golfer than me. Are the golf courses still open in Western New York right now, or are they closed for the winter?
Yeah, so I would say every golf course that I'm aware of is open as of this moment. Now, the ones that are run by towns and the counties usually are the first ones to shut down just because of their staffing and things like that. So, and it's usually weather dependent. If you were going to say, when do they normally shut down in this area, I would say it's somewhere in the mid to late November range. And again, if it stays very mild like it has been, they may stay open longer just because obviously that brings in more revenue for them. But at some point, the weather will turn, as we know it will, and then they'll turn those down. The private courses, honestly, it's really up to each individual club as far as how long as they want to go. I know the one that I play at times they'll say, hey, we shut down services, like the pro shop closes or you can't take out carts. But if you want to go walk and play, even though it might be cold out, you can do it. So it kind of just depends on each individual club on that part. But a lot of the public courses, my guess would be we still have a few weeks left before they start to think about turning it down for the year.
Put you on the spot here. Who's the best golfer at WGR?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I would like to say I'm in the running for that. So I've golfed with a couple of people from my station before that I think are good golfers. Jeremy White's a good golfer. Sal Capaccio is a good golfer. Nate Geary's a very good golfer. I know Sneaky Joe from the morning show is really getting into golf hard. He's gotten a lot better. I've played Kevin Sylvester, who's part of my Tee to Green team, who used to work for WGR on more of a full-time basis. He and I are probably, I would say, very similar in terms of our skill level, but almost all of we have a pretty golf friendly or golf heavy staff. I would say Shope and Bulldog both play. Bulldog is really into it now because his son is into it.
Wow.
So I know they play a lot. Yeah, I would say most of our staff play pretty regularly when the schedule and the weather allows. So that's all fun for us then, because it gives us something to do together beyond just work together.
I had your friend Kevin Sylvester on my show a couple years ago. And here's a fun fact about me. The last time I went golfing was August 1994, the year the Rangers won their last Stanley Cup 30 years ago.
Yes. See,
it's been a while.
How long it's been? That's been what? Is that 30 years?
30 years, yeah.
And that's that was on the way of Mark Messier with his guarantee about not losing in the Eastern Finals, right? And then going on to beat Vancouver. That was such a great series. I remember watching the Rangers and the Canucks, and that went 7. And I feel like I could even picture how that final seconds played out. The puck's in the corner, and the Rangers end. They're trying to keep it there, and I don't know if maybe 2-1 was the Game 7 final, something like that, low scoring, but
30 years. I can't believe it's been that long, but I would like to get out and try it again. It's something. It's a skilled sport, and people don't realize that.
I think. In high school, I played football, I played basketball, I played tennis. I still coach high school tennis and coach high school golf. I haven't played organized soccer, but from coaching my son's team for a little bit here and there, I've grown in a huge appreciation for how good soccer is. But for golf, to me, in terms of just the amount of things that have to line up for you to be right, I always say I feel like it's one of the hardest sports. And this is taking no credit away from any of these professional athletes, but if Josh Allen is off by this much on his pass, you could still catch it. If you're off this much with your baseball throw over to first, it's still okay. In hockey, if you're off a foot with your pass, your teammate can react. Well, in golf, you don't have a teammate. So it is all on you. And for anybody that's ever swung a golf club, if you're off by a centimeter on the club, that can be the difference between being perfectly straight or going sideways in the wrong direction. So in terms of the precision, I think golf is as tough as a sport as I've tried to play.
I'm gonna try to come out one day, and maybe I'll come out to Western New York. I'm friends with Chris Swanson, the public address announcer for the Buffalo Bandits. Hey, I wanted to ask you this too, Brian, since we haven't talked in 3 years, and RJ passed away not too long ago. Just thoughts on Dan Dunleavy, not replacing him, but following in his footsteps, and the chemistry with Dan and Rob Ray on the broadcasts.
Well, first, if you allow, I'll say something quick about RJ. I mean, just for me, who started working on this, 16 seasons ago as the host, and even being up in the press box before that, Rick was always a very kind person. He never said no, ever. If I had a guest in the WGR booth and I said, "Hey, Rick, can they come over and meet you, or take a picture, or shake your hand, or whatever, or say hello?" He never said no. He was a guy that also, I thought, treated me as a professional in the sense that he and I would interact more often during radio-only games. For those that maybe aren't as familiar with the Sabres broadcast, the TV broadcast is simulcasted on our radio broadcast. So MSG in the United States, where the broadcast feed comes from, and WGR use the same audio. But for radio-only games, because there's no TV running it, we are, as WGR, a little bit more in control of it. So Rick and I would talk a little bit more of how am I going to toss from pregame to him? When does he want it? All that, so there'll be a little bit more discussion in radio games, but he was always very professional with me in terms of saying, "Hey, you know what's best. You let me know exactly what you want." He goes, "I'll be ready when you send it," that kind of thing. So in terms of a professional working relationship, Rick was awesome to work with. And then just seeing, I was very fortunate. Was in the booth right next to him. We have a clear pane of glass in between, so it was very easy to watch Rick and see Rick. My own personal enjoyment, when the Sabres would score, of turning to my left and getting a chance to see him call it with the vigor and the excitement and the passion was inspiring for me as a young broadcaster. I mean, as a kid, I grew up listening to Rick as a Sabres fan in the 90s when I was old enough to know what was happening with the Sabres. Like, Rick was the person that told, and not every game was even still on TV back then, to make myself look old here. So Rick was really the person that, like, I listened through the Sabres through. But seeing him interact with others along the way, just people up in the press box, he was, very genuine about it. So, obviously, beyond the fact we don't have to debate here, we all know he was amazing at calling games. But just some of the things that you maybe wouldn't hear on the microphone or see on camera with Rick, he was a great person, and obviously we miss him around. As far as Dan goes, he is so great to work with. Really, really generous with his time. Zero ego at all. Such a nice, just genuine person who is really interested in making the broadcast go well. Again, a unique format of the Sabres broadcast is that we simulcast TV and radio together, but he's always asking me, like, what can I do that would work on TV, but will also help the radio broadcast sound better? So he's very open to wanting to understand that both broadcasts are important in that sense. So Dan is great. Love working with him. I would, have nothing but positive things to say. And Dan, I just know as a person that has done some hockey play-by-play, Dan is so fundamentally sound. That's one thing that I love about listening to his play-by-play. Like, if there's one thing that, we've all done is you've listened to a game, but you're not seeing it. You close your eyes. Can you picture where the puck is? Can you kind of tell how fast a player is coming in? Can you, know the situation of where everybody is on the ice? Dan, I think, does a really, really good job of that, which as a radio person, I really, really value.
I was going to get into Rob Ray, but I just wanted to ask you this too, since I have you on. Any chance there's going to be an RJ statue at some point at the KeyBank Center? And what was your favorite RJ call?
I think at some point there will be something additionally done for RJ. Two things have been done already, which I think are great. They obviously retired his microphone up, his initials, RJ, up into the rafters, and he was obviously alive for that. So that is great that he was able to see that. Also, the street that is out in front of KeyBank Center has a big sign on it and says, this is now designated as RJ Way. So that also has been dedicated to RJ, which I thought was a great move. I know there has been some talk about a call for having a statue for him, and I think that probably will maybe be coming at some point. I mean, there are some other Sabre players that probably would be in that discussion too that would be worthy of a statue. But I think if there is some sort of statue or plaza built or something out there where you actually have more than just that French Connection statue, I know that we obviously have that there already. I think RJ would be involved for sure.
Absolutely. There's something else I was going to ask you too. Now I remember Rob Ray. Congratulations to Rob Ray being introduced into the Buffalo Sabres Hockey Hall of Fame as a player and a broadcaster, and he's contributed so much to the organization and the city of Buffalo and Western New York. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that, Brian.
Yeah, Rob is great. Yeah, I believe it's the end of January 31st, I think, against Nashville is the game that he's going to be going in on. So if people want to go to that game, he's going to be in for that. Obviously, him and his family will be introduced that night. Rob is super humble. I'm sure while he extremely is, valuing the fact that he's going in, he doesn't like the applause. He's a guy that does so much good for our community that goes unnoticed because he's not out there pumping his own tires about it. So Rob does a ton of community work. I know on Thanksgiving, he gives up hours of his day to give food for needy families and things like that. He's in charge of, he's a big part of the Sabres alumni group that does community and charity and fundraising and things like that. So beyond the fact that he deserves to go in because of his longevity as a player and as a broadcaster, he's just a really good dude. And I love Rob. And up in the press box, I always say, if Rob's coming up and kind of busting on you, that means he really likes you. He likes to have fun with you, and you got to be on your toes with Rob, which is great. But it's also awesome knowing that, Rob has got your back up there for sure. And he is as genuinely nice as anybody. And if you asked Rob for something, he would do it in a hurry for you. No doubt about it right away. So I'm happy to know Rob. Congratulations to him as a friend and as a fellow broadcaster. I'm really happy for him.
I'm hoping one day to meet him as well. And hey, Brian, I've been doing this show now 5 years, and I've had so many broadcasters on from the city of Buffalo, and John Gerkler from the Bandits has been great with me as well. And the city of Buffalo and Western New York has had so many great broadcasters over the years and a lot of media people. And Buffalo to me is like my second home because I spend a lot of time there, but everybody's been really supportive of my radio show and my media work as well.
That's great. I hope that that's one thing that, everybody in Buffalo takes very good pride in, is that we're passionate about our sports teams, but first and foremost, we're passionate about helping out people and, supporting people in community. I mean, I even just was hearing a soundbite this week from, just to shift to football for a moment, from Tua Tagovailoa from Miami. If everybody remembers in that game that he suffered a concussion in this year, it was against the Bills, where he lowered his head and went right into Damar Hamlin when he was trying to gain some more yards. And the Bills fans, who have been very good about donating money for charity, if you remember, they've done this in the past with other groups across sports. They started donating to Tua's charity this year. So that was something that he was asked about this week, about not only facing the Bills, but the fact that Bills fans donated so much money to his charity. And he had some very nice things to say about it. So that's one thing I'll always prop up Buffalo for, is the fact that, yes, that we're passionate about our sports, but I feel like I'll stand and say they're as good of a city as anybody in terms of just helping people out. So kudos to them for doing what they did with Tua and with other players and other charities and other things like that.
And I'm hoping to get down to a Sabres game this year, either as a fan or as a media member as well, Brian. Hey, speaking of that, I have some questions for you. And the first one I wanted to ask you about is thoughts on the return of head coach Lindy Ruff to the Buffalo Sabres. And to me, he means so much to the city and Western New York and his time with the Sabres, but in the past as a player and as a head coach.
So twofold answer here. First of all, I think it's what the Sabres needed. If you listen to the players at the end of last season, almost every single one of them left in their exit interviews talking about how they needed to be pushed more, held a little bit more accountable, practicing harder, ice time taken away if standards weren't met, all those sort of things. When you see your players come out and instantly say that, especially the Sabres are the youngest team on paper in the NHL. So that they aren't necessarily led by, you mentioned Mark Messier, right? Or we were talking about Mark Messier. Like, there isn't a Mark Messier on this team. So they need to get some leadership in some other aspects. And Kyle Oposo, I think, was a very good captain in certain areas, but maybe one area that I would say he wasn't as known for. He was very strong for being supportive and a good leader and a fatherly figure and setting the example on work ethic and community and all these sort of things and teamwork. But there definitely wasn't like the guy that's going to start throwing stuff in the locker room or yelling at guys. And I'm not saying that that's what you need. Athletes these days, definitely, most of them are not going to respond to that. But you have to have someone at a professional level, because you're getting paid, this is your job, that if you don't meet the standard that the team is at for whatever it is, that there's going to be some accountability. And I think that because the Sabres are so young and because maybe that captain doesn't exist right now on the roster, that it has to come from the head coach. And I thought Don Granato was an excellent teacher. I thought he was an excellent developer. But when it came to maybe holding the players a little bit more accountable, pushing them, maybe, not letting them off the hook at times for pressure situations or poor decisions, I think that was a piece of why the change was made. I think Lindy fits that well. Lindy has also changed as a head coach from the last time he was here. He's even admitted that look, if I coached exactly how I did back when I started here in the late 90s, it wouldn't work. He said it's just not how today's athletes are. So he's adjusted as well. But Lindy is pushing them harder in practice. The players will be the first to tell you, look, we are working so much harder. He's taking ice time away. I mean, last year, you wouldn't see some of these higher level players sit. Jack Quinn has been set already. We've seen some of the defensemen sit already. So I think that Lindy is taking away ice time, and that's sending a message like, look, you guys are good. We expect a lot from you, but if when I know you're capable of it, and you're not meeting it, then it's going to cost you ice time. And ultimately, per professional, they have such pride in their work. That's probably the biggest blow that you can take, is when you take away either their jersey or ice time or both. So I think so far that is working. My eyes are telling me that they are working a lot harder this year. Most of the players that I'm seeing around the net and willing to take a cross check and willing to stand there and bump and battle, a lot of that didn't occur on a consistent basis last year. It happened at times. It's not perfect yet, but I would say through 10 or 11 games, whatever they're through right now, I think it is definitely in a much improved asset in Lindy Ruff's category that I would say he's really helping in that spot.
One thing too, being a young team, is you're going to have games where they look great and then games that they don't look great. Do you find under Lindy Ruff so far, this team is starting to be a little more consistent every game, not just with the work ethic?
I do. I think if you saw the opening games in Prague against New Jersey, there was a lot of players that looked like they weren't ready to start the season. And I'm not letting them off the hook, but it was a very, very unique training camp for the Sabres. They played 2 games essentially right as their training camp started. And they played Pittsburgh and Columbus, and they won those games very easily. But the Sabres played essentially their entire NHL team, while Pittsburgh and Columbus played all their minor leaguers. So it wasn't really like a true test of maybe the speed and the pizzazz of what it really was going to be like. Then Buffalo left and went and played a Red Bull Munich team, which I would say is probably maybe even below AHL level. And again, they won, they dominated. That's all they could do. And then they're all of a sudden sitting there waiting to play New Jersey in a pair of games. So I didn't know if they really, really got themselves prepared for the regular season. So looking back at it at the time, it seemed pretty devastating that they started off 0-2 and only scored 1 goal. They did not look ready to play. Some of them did not look ready for the moment. It was a pressure kind of filled place being in Prague, and I was there, which was a very fortunate thing for me. It was a great memory, but the Sabres did not look good in those games. And I think, when you talk about coming ready to play, that was a real issue for their team last year. They were the worst team in the NHL in the first period. And I think we're seeing that change. They're coming ready to play more. The consistency, while it still is not perfect, I think it's getting better. So I'll go back to saying what I said to your first question. I'll credit Lindy Ruff a little bit more for a lot of that, is that they're seeing dividends about working hard, coming more prepared, coming ready to play when it first starts in the opening portion. And I think that's leading to them getting more points. So overall, that's where it matters in the standings.
What kind of an identity does Lindy Ruff and Kevin Adams want for this team going forward in 2024-25?
For sure, from Kevin Adams, it's that they want to be a team that's hard to play against. For Lindy Ruff, he also would probably add on to that statement and say they wanted to make KeyBank Center and playing in Buffalo against Buffalo a tough place to play. Lindy really referenced how the home ice advantage in Buffalo was something that his team thrived on back when they were successful back in the late 90s and the mid-early 2000s. He said this building, like when oppositions would come in, they would talk about it. Like what a tough building it was to play against. The Sabres could score goals in bunches on you and you'd be blown out of the building in a hurry. I know, for your Canadian viewers that watch the Leafs a lot, it happened quite a bit during those Lindy Ruff years when Toronto would come in and all of a sudden Buffalo would be up 5-1 early second period. They'd score 3 goals in 3 minutes and the place would be going bonkers. Well, for the last decade, KeyBank Center has really been a snooze. It's been an easy place for opposition teams to come in and play. And the Sabres have been a soft team to play against. And I think they really want to change that. I think Kevin Adams did a good job with rebuilding the third and fourth line with some of the players that they brought in. Bringing in Nick Obey-Cabell from Washington, bringing in Malenstein from Washington, bringing in Ryan McLeod from Edmonton, I thought was a really nice trade. I know they gave up a good prospect in Matt Savoy to do it, but they brought speed and they brought physicality, and I think you're seeing it overall. Sam Lafferty also was brought in that area too. The third and fourth lines to me is where the Sabres made their biggest upgrade this year, and I think it fits those two kind of mentality ideas that Kevin Adams and Lindy Ruff want them to be. They want them to be tougher to play against, and they want to establish some sort of home ice advantage that they haven't had for a decade.
Ryan McLeod, I saw play in the OHL with the Mississauga Steelheads, who are now in Brampton, and I think he can be a 15 to 18 goal scorer on this Buffalo Sabres team. I really like that move.
I think what I was blown away with, I knew that he was a fast player, but when you watch him on Edmonton, everybody's fast, right? They have
Yes.
some of the fastest team. They got some of the fastest players in the NHL. Seeing him in person, even in the preseason, watching him just win a battle because he's just a half step quicker than the guy that he's going against. Like, I think he scored maybe at least 3 of his goals just because at center ice, they look to be even, and then he outduels them with his speed. So I've been really, really impressed. He's not afraid to go to the net, and when that's a nice combination to have. When you're faster than the guy that's defending you, and you're also not afraid to go to the net to finish off a play, I think that's where I would agree with you. I think McLeod can be in that 15, 18, maybe even hit 20 this year. I think even today at practice, Ryan McLeod has been moved up to be the second-line center. Dylan Cousins has been struggling to score. He's going to move to the wing. So we may see McLeod now playing with even some more talented players. I think it's for a reason. I think Lindy Ruff is also happy with what McLeod's brought so far here in this young season.
I was going to ask you about Dylan Cousins. He's only has 3 assists so far in 10 games. Do you feel that he will eventually start producing more at some point?
I mean, God, the law of averages would say he has to. He has been in the right spot to score. He has been working his tail off to score. He's winning battles. He's been creating on the power play, but man, that puck will just not go in for him. I think a big piece of it too is he is hard on himself as anybody. Last year, multiple times, he called himself out publicly during post-game interviews saying, look, this team's paying me a lot of money to score and I'm not. He takes it very hard. I wonder how much of that maybe affects him during the course of the game when he maybe misses an opportunity. And then, like, is that weighing on him during the course of the game? We know it's a cliche thing to say. People say, oh, you're grabbing your stick too tight or all that sort of thing. But I think for Cousins, he feels like he is such an important role on this team to also produce offensively beyond some of the other good things that he brings. When he's not, I think he really takes it to heart. And I like that. I value that. I think as a fan, probably people would find that very admirable in Cousins that he has that. But I wonder if it affects him at times because you can see him visibly frustrated after a chance going in. The huge hanging of the head or the, oh, my God, I can't believe that didn't go in. Even 2 games ago, he had a chance at an empty net. And, of course, just because when things aren't going your way, it's Murphy's Law. He hits the post on an open net. Like, he just can't get off the schneid. I've liked his game in every facet other than the fact that he just can't finish. But he's getting paid $7 million. So to be on the goal pace and the production that he's on right now, I'd still say it's completely unacceptable. He has to be at least in the 20s to me for him to I would say for this team to be successful because the ice time, the power play time, and the salary cap that he's taking up, they have to have that amount of production out of him.
Brian, is there any chance they could send him down to Rochester to get his confidence back? Because to me, he has the talent, but hockey also the game in the mind. And just would there be any chance they could send him down to Rochester to get him to get his confidence up and get some production down there, and then bring him back up?
Yeah, I don't think with his contract. I think his contract's just a one-way deal, and I think when you're sending a player that makes $7 million down to the minors, I think it probably would only be in the facet of like a rehabilitation, like if he gets injured or something like that. I could see it maybe if he's injured and they want to get him a game or 2 back before they put him in, maybe you could do that as a conditioning sort of thing. But I don't think it would happen in any capacity just due to poor play. I just think he's beyond that at this point. I think if you're thinking about doing that, I think it's to the point where maybe you're thinking about trading him.
And I just feel if once he gets a goal or 2, I think they'll come. Just once he gets that first one, I think it'll open it up for him. And I think that will really be huge. And Brian, if you get a few more minutes, I wanted to get your thoughts on their next couple of opponents. The Islanders tomorrow night at the KeyBank Center, and then Saturday night against my Red Wings at Little Caesars Arenas.
Well, I'll even throw in the next one after that, Ottawa. These next 3 teams, the Islanders, the Red Wings, and the Senators. These are 3 teams, along with Buffalo. I think these are 4 organizations that all probably have aspirations of being a wild card this year. I think being in the top 3 in the Atlantic for these teams might be a little high of an admiration because you've got Florida, Boston, and Toronto, and I think they are still the elite in that division. The Islanders, obviously, they're in the Metro. They could have aspirations to maybe finish, third, maybe there. But for the most part, these are teams that I think collectively will be in the wild card race. And for the Sabres, because, of course, the playoff drought has been so much of the narrative around this team, these are the games you have to win. Buffalo did a good job last week against Detroit when they played them in Buffalo. The fact that they had a lead, they ended up giving it away, but they ended up coming back to win. They picked up that 4-3 lead and got it back, even though they did blow the lead to the Wings. That's a game. Last year, Buffalo had a 3-0 lead against Detroit, blew it in regulation, and then Detroit ended up winning it in overtime. And those are those point swings where, hey, you get 2, they get none. Suddenly they got 2 and you only got 1. Like, that's a 5-point different net differential in the standings in terms of how that plays out. So I think when you look at these games for the Sabres and equally for the other teams, if I was talking about those teams, these are the really, really important ones, because not only can it be 2 points for you, but it can be an opportunity to give that other team a 0 on a night. So for Buffalo, when they play teams like Detroit, like the Islanders, like Ottawa, I think these are the ones that are really, really important on the calendar. The ones against the West, if you lose in overtime or, you're going to lose games. If you're going to lose games, you want to lose them to the West because you don't care what points they get. There's not going to affect you making the playoffs or not. These key games in the East against the teams that I feel like are all in this mix here. And I'd probably put Buffalo, Detroit, the Islanders, Ottawa. I'd probably throw Washington in that mix. I mean, I think Tampa is older. Will they come down a little? Maybe they're in that mix too. I still think maybe Philadelphia, Montreal, Columbus, I would say maybe they're the bottom tier of the East. But this middle chunk of teams that I'd at least like to think the Sabres are feeling like they're involved with here. These head-to-head games are really big.
And the Red Wings are really struggling right now. And there's even calls in Detroit from the fan base of getting Derek Lalonde fired. So the Red Wings really have to start getting it going. I know everybody says it's early in the season, but these wins in games count just as much as in April. And it's going to be an interesting weekend. And Brian, since I got you on here for a couple more minutes, what do you feel the Sabres should make a trade and bring in a veteran forward or a veteran defenseman? And just thoughts on the goaltending situation with Luukkonen and Levi.
I think for now I would say it would be highly unlikely that you'd see any move in goal. I think they really like Luukkonen. I think he's going to play the bulk of the games. I think when Levi plays well, I think you'll see him get maybe the extra start here. And I think every time the Sabres play back-to-back, I think you will see Levi get one of those games. But I think they want Luukkonen to play 60% of the games. So I think that's kind of what that's going to be. Defensively, they've got a lot of money tied up there. They've got Dahlin, a big extension. They just gave Power, they gave a big extension to. Samuelson, they gave a big extension to. Bo Byram, they just traded for. So I think they're probably, could it be a depth defensive move? Sure, but I don't think you're going to see any big splash there. The spot that maybe I could see a trade is at the top 6 forward position where you mentioned that. They brought in, I think, veteran leadership. Jason Zucker has been really good. That's a guy we haven't talked about yet. I think he's been really, really good. He's helped out the power play. He works hard to create chances for other players. I've liked his game. So maybe there is a little bit more veteran presence in there, but they still ultimately come down to it. I still think they may need to improve their top 6 scoring. That's something Kevin Adams did not address in the offseason. If I was going to give him any sort of failing grade for the offseason, if I was going to force to be giving one, it would be right there that the top 6 scoring, they didn't change it, and he's just hoping that everybody has a bounce back year.
What's the mood like with the Buffalo media and the fan base with this team? Because the playoff drought's 13 years right now for the Sabres?
Yeah, I mean, right now with fans, there's a lot of prove it to me. I've been down this road before kind of thing. Anytime they start to, you feel like that they're in the race. It's unfair in some sense that the players and the coaches and the current GM are a part of this blame because they've only been there. Lindy Ruff's obviously only been here for 10 games. Kevin Adams, has only been here for 2.5 years or so. So but they're lumped in. It happened the same with the Bills. The Bills had a long playoff drought, and eventually they broke it. But part of the stigma around the franchise right now is that they are a losing franchise in the NHL. And even though you see other franchises go up and down, I haven't really seen many franchises stay as down as the Sabres have for this long in a league where 50% of the teams make the playoffs. To me, that's the part that's unacceptable. You don't have to be a Stanley Cup contender over a decade, but the fact that you would miss it 13 years straight when half the teams, when essentially every year is a coin flip to make the playoffs, that is going to be tough for them to shake. And until they make it, it's going to be a part of everyone's discussion, fairly or unfairly, to Kevin Adams and Lindy Ruff and this current group of players. Some of them who have only played 10 games with this team, they're still part of the reason why they haven't made the playoffs for so long. And again, it's probably unfair, but that's what happens right now. If you're wearing a Sabre logo, that's what you're going to be tied to.
And firing coaches and GMs all the time doesn't help either. And that's why the Bills have been really good the last decade, because of McDermott and Brandon Bean. They're winning, but they've got consistency. And I do feel Lindy Ruff's the right guy for this job. Brian, if you've got another minute or two, I have a viewer named Robbie Schneider. He's a huge Sabres fan. He wanted me to ask you, do you think Cousins on the wing is a good move by Lindy Ruff?
Hey, Robbie, thanks. I would say yes. You asked me about what can you do with Cousins? This is something that you can do. You take a little bit of responsibility away from going to center to wing. So I like that. Chris, if you remember at all, Cousins from Team Canada, when he thrived in those games, he was playing on the wing. So I'm excited to see this. McLeod, as we already talked about, has been very good so far. And he's been able to set up his line mates for scoring opportunities. So I'm wondering if this will maybe allow Dylan Cousins to take a little breather, to say, okay, look, I'm back in a spot I know I've had success with. Let's see if I can get my mojo back this way. And I like putting McLeod there with him as well, separating him from Jack Quinn, who's also been a major struggle here to start the season. So I'm excited for this move. I think it's the right move for Lindy. I think benching Dylan Cousins wouldn't be the right move, because he is doing all the right things other than putting the puck in the net. It's not like his energy is low. It's not like he's not winning battles. It's not like he's not in the right position. It's not like he's not throwing his body on the line. He's doing all that. The puck's just not going in for him. So I like this move to wing. Hopefully it'll take a little less maybe defensive responsibility away from him. He can flow a little bit more freestyle on the wing, and it'll be an opportunity for him to get off the schneid and get into the scoring column.
And I'm going to make a prediction, Brian, and it's going to go against my team. Cousins is going to get his first goals of the year against Detroit this weekend. I have a feeling he's going to get 1 or 2 goals, and I think he's going to get going. And before we let you go, Brian, can you just tell us some of the new changes at the KeyBank Center for the 24-25 season for people that haven't been to the arena for a while?
Sure. Probably the most noticeable change is the huge change with the scoreboard. KeyBank Center did have an older, smaller scoreboard, and now it is massive and just as big as the ones that you would see at a lot of the updated arenas right now. It basically goes from blue line to blue lines. And what's nice about it, especially for me, someone that's trying to, give people interesting things to hear about on the radio broadcast, there's a lot of nice stats that are on the board right now that are up to date. They also, on the side of the boards, this is something we've probably, you may have seen in other arenas, they have the live timing of the players that are on the ice. So you can kind of see if a guy's been out there for over a minute, or if, he's been out there for quite a while, or how long these shifts are going. So that's kind of interesting to follow. That's definitely the biggest change. They made a major change with a new roof. That might be something you might not notice, but they did that. Also outside in the Alumni Plaza area, they redid the whole facade. That's all different and brand new. So for those that maybe haven't gone there yet, go over by the French Connection statue area, and then up at the top on that huge facade, that bridge that connects the parking ramp to KeyBank Center. They redid that whole kind of montage of the alumni wall there, and that looks really, really nice.
Are they doing any more renovations in the next couple of years to the arena?
Yes, from what we've been told, that the seating bowl is going to be something that they're going to be working on. Replacing a lot of the seats is going to be something that they're going to be working on. So I think that's probably the next big major change. I know structurally there's some things that they want to do, but I know the seating bowl and how they may want to reconfigure some of it to maybe get some more kind of standing room area or some more area where fans can congregate. they're looking into that. At least I know that for sure. I don't know if it's exactly going to be done in a specific way, but I know the seats being replaced and maybe some sort of small reconfiguration of the seating bowl is something that I know that is upcoming very soon.
I know coming from Ontario, I love the location because it's right off the 190 and it's about 7 minutes to the Peace Bridge. So I'm hoping the Sabres long-term stay at that location.
Yeah, I think that this building, in terms of, where it's going to be and where they're going to be, it's going to be quite a while for sure. So I think we're talking at least another 20 to 30 years before we'd have to worry about them actually like building something in a new spot.
Hey, Brian, finally, where can my audience follow you on social media? And when is the next Buffalo Sabres broadcast on MSG and WGR 550?
Sure. During Sabre games, I'm probably most active on Twitter. You actually have it on the bottom of the screen right there, at Brian WGR. If you are interested in any of our golf stuff with Tee to Green, we're on Instagram and Twitter at T2G Buffalo. We also have a YouTube page there where our podcast is going to be. And then our next Sabre broadcast is Friday night, tomorrow night, with the Islanders at 7:00. And I'll be on part of the pregame with Paul Hamilton at 6:45 from KeyBank Center. And then also Saturday, 6:00 pregame for Sabres and Red Wings. So that's the weekend schedule. Buffalo home on Friday against the Islanders, and then on the road to Detroit on Saturday.
And since it's Halloween, what's your favorite thing about Halloween? And are you guys doing anything in the broadcast booth tomorrow night?
Ooh, that's a good question. So the Sabres had kind of their Halloween thing on Saturday with kids. They had the whole lower bowl in the concourse where kids could go around, and they were all dressed up and could go around and get some candy and some things like that. That's a good question. I tried to wear orange today to be a little festive for you here. Ooh, that's a good question. Maybe I'll have to pull out something for tomorrow. I know the in-arena host, Courtney Kobata, who if you've attended games, she dressed up as Rob Ray the last game. So that was kind of fun to see that. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard on radio. If we do anything, I'll have to tweet out a picture, because obviously on radio, you're not seeing anything that we might be doing in terms of getting ready for Halloween. And
Pat Malacaro helps out with the broadcast too, right?
Yeah, Pat, who you may have heard if you're a Blue Jays fan, he's the play-by-play guy for the Bisons, the AAA affiliate for Toronto. Pat works on the broadcast with me. For the most part, he's anchoring, he's giving our scoreboards, he's writing our web story at WGR550.com, and then he's on with me throughout the broadcast as well. Paul Hamilton's on with me throughout the broadcast as well. So it's a great team. Those guys are a big reason why I love doing what I'm doing with the Sabres.
And what I've seen doing media work too is everybody talks about the players and the coaches, but it's a team effort with the media and everybody, especially on the TV and the radio sides as well.
Yeah, I think, obviously I'm not playing in the game, but you feel like you're a small part of the Sabres experience when you're on the broadcast. And, I want the Sabres to win because I was a kid who grew up loving Rick Jeanneret and loving the Sabres and watching Pat LaFontaine and Alexander Mogilny, and my father taking me to games at Memorial Auditorium. So I want the Sabres to do well. I also want the Sabres to do well professionally for my job, because as the Sabres are better, the games become more meaningful, which means more people want to tune in and listen. So I hope that people that are regular listeners of the broadcast would hope that my intention is to always be fair. And when I'm critical, it's in a fair manner. And when I'm giving them praise, it's also in a fair manner. I think that's one thing that you try to do is you do the best time to be unbiased in terms of how you present yourself as an analyst of the team. I'll definitely say when they're bad that they're bad, and I'll definitely say when they're good that they're good. But a person who lives in Buffalo, who works on the Sabres broadcasts, do I want them to do well? Of course I want them to do well, because the broadcasts are better. Everybody's more energized about the game. People all across Western New York and Southern Ontario are excited to talk Sabres, which only motivates me to want to do it at an even better rate. So, them doing well is beneficial for everybody.
And you've seen with the Bills and their success the last 7-8 years how the fan base has been energized. I can't imagine what it'd be like at the KeyBank Center if this team was a playoff contender every year and starts winning more often, because I think Buffalo has one of the best hockey fan bases in the National Hockey League.
I agree. It doesn't take much to get them excited. As you can see, at least over the last 13 years, they still keep coming back. Any little blip of hope that they think this team might be onto something, they're there. So, I kudos to all Sabre fans that have shown up and supported this team, because it's been a tough time period, and it's not going to take much, I think, to get the entire city back on board.
Absolutely. Hey, Brian, I could talk to you for a couple hours, but I kept you over 30 minutes, and I want to say thank you so much for giving us some time out of your busy schedule. And I'm hoping to get down to a Sabres game this year. I haven't been to one since 2018 against Vegas, and I will be back at the arena in December for the Buffalo Bandits, another tremendous organization as well. But I want to say thank you so much, and continued success on your broadcast, and good luck this weekend, except for the game at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit on Saturday night.
You got it. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Brian. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys, that concludes season 9, episode 9, overall 449 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph and on WQEE 99.1 FM, weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. And guys, before we wrap up the show, I did a little ad the other day at Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph, and I'm going to play it right now, as Barry Cullen Chevrolet has been my main sponsor on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show for now over 2 years. Here's my advertisement from the Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership, courtesy of my YouTube channel. Please hit subscribe and the like notification. Good morning, guys. This is Chris Palme, live at Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or their great selection of all-electric vehicles, as well as Cadillac products. You can check out their website, barrycullen.com, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com. And as you can see, I'm here at the dealership right now this morning in Guelph, Barry Cullen Chevrolet here, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. And in the background, guys, I'm going to just show you 24s and 2025 Blazers, Trailblazers out and about right now. This is one color. I like this blue color. This is a nice, sharp blue color one. They got a great selection of vehicles here at Barry Cullen Chevrolet. And as you can see, I'm going by the Trailblazers and the Blazers and the Equinox as well. And one of their salespersons, his name is Nathan Laud. He is one of the best guys to deal with. They're all great here at Barry Cullen Chevrolet, but I always refer people to Nathan, who sold me my 2023 Chevy Trailblazer RS model just under 2 years ago. So again, guys, check out Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West here in the Guelph Auto Mall, and they have a great selection of electric vehicles, and they are family run and operated in Guelph since 1969. So lots of great vehicles like this Equinox right here. It's a nice, sharp looking vehicle. And yeah, guys, please check out Barry Cullen Chevrolet if you're in the Guelph area this week. All right, guys, that was courtesy of my YouTube channel. And please hit this like and the subscribe notification as well. By the way, Barry Cullen Chevrolet this Halloween, Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph will be scaring away hunger by collecting donations for the Guelph Food Bank, and we encourage you to do the same. Almost 24% of Guelph households are food insecure, and we must do our best to help out. This event is inspired by me, the Me Movement, through all the schools. And if you're at Barry Cullen Chevrolet this week looking at a new vehicle or a used vehicle, please consider giving them a cash or a food donation on behalf of the Guelph Food Bank as well. And it's pretty scary that 24%, almost 24% of Guelph's population households are food insecure. And Barry Cullen Chevrolet wants to do their best to help out. So if you're there, please consider giving to the Guelph Food Bank. And again, it's inspired by the Move to We Scare Hunger, an amazing program that runs throughout the school years all over Ontario. The next Small Talk podcast, season 2, episode 10, with co-host yours truly, Chris Pame and Marlene Sharp on Friday, November 1st. That's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern with our special guests, Jason Weisbrod and Garth Herberg from Spectrum Laboratories. And I'm excited to have them on for season 2, episode 10, the Small Talk podcast with Marlene Sharp and myself. And we're available on all audio platforms, video platforms, and on WQEE. So check out Small Talk podcast, episode 10, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Again with Jason Weisbrod and Garth Herberg from the Spectrum Laboratories out in Los Angeles, California. Also, guys, if you're looking to adopt, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society, 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0, or visit their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. All the animals that are up for adoption there are all the profiles of the animals up for adoption are on cambridgehumanesociety.org. And if you're looking to volunteer like me, you can fill out a volunteer application through the website. And they are doing a 50-50 monthly raffle at the Cambridge Humane Society there. Click on events and you can purchase a ticket there as well. And the Cambridge Humane Society is going to be selling 2025 Cambridge Humane Society calendars for only $10 in the upcoming weeks, and yours truly will be selling some as well. So again, check out the Cambridge District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. And by the way, guys, I'm going to have a guest on my show in the next few weeks. Her name is Christina Millman Ronaldi. She is the executive director of the Detroit Dog Rescue Group in Detroit, and you can check out their website, DetroitDogRescue.com. DetroitDogRescue.com, and her name is Christina Millman Ronaldi, and we're going to talk about her rescue group in the city of Detroit in the next couple of weeks as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is hosted by yours truly, Chris Pame, is on weeknights at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website is wqeefm.radio12345.com. Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter /X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. I also have a website, guys. You can check it out at beacons.ai/Christy Pame. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show again is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or their great selection of all-electric vehicles or Cadillac products, or call the dealership at 519-824-0210. Or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969. And yours truly has been a customer of Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph since 2000. Also, guys, you can follow me on TikTok at Live with CDP. Yes, I'm on TikTok at Live with CDP. Thank you to my 2,500 followers. Make sure you hit that follow and like notification on TikTok. StreamYard, again, is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, the Argo Bounce Live Audio Show, and the Small Talk Podcast. If you're into webinars or podcasting, check out StreamYard.com. And if you're a business that does a lot of live streaming or webinars, StreamYard.com and contact the sales department. And again, yours truly has been with StreamYard now for 4 years. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is the audio version is available on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. Make sure you hit the subscribe and like notification to these audio platforms. And I want to say thank you to everyone for subscribing to my YouTube channel. Make sure, if you already haven't, hit the subscribe notification and the like notification to my YouTube channel, which is growing. And my next goal is to get to 500 subscribers on YouTube. I'm currently at 475. So let's get everybody out there watching live stream and on audio platforms or WQEE 99.1 FM. Let's get my YouTube channel up to 500, and I'm only 25 from that goal now. But thank you to everyone for subscribing and watching my YouTube channel as well. You can email the show at live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpame19@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated. And also, guys, I am on Cameo. If you'd like a personalized video message from yours truly, type in cameo.com and then my name, Chris Pame, and I'd be happy to do a personalized video for you. The proceeds from my cameos will go towards my radio and media work as well. And before we wrap up this show, guys, I want to say congratulations to the 2024 Major League Baseball World Series champion, Los Angeles Dodgers, in winning their 8th championship last night over the New York Yankees, 7-6 at Yankee Stadium in Game 5. And congratulations to Freddie Freeman on winning another World Series championship, this time with the Dodgers, and being named the most valuable player. Freddie Freeman, whose parents are from Windsor, Ontario, and Peterborough, Ontario. Freddie Freeman's the first Canadian national team player to ever win the World Series MVP. His late mother, who passed away recently, I believe less than 10 years ago, she is from Peterborough, and Freddie's father is from Windsor, Ontario. So Freddie Freeman, congratulations on being an MVP and winning another championship. And also, guys, Dave Roberts gets a lot of scrutiny. The Dodgers have had a lot of great teams the last 10 years, and they only won one title back in 2020 in the 60-game pandemic shortened season. But this Dodgers team this year, obviously big payroll, a lot of stars with Ohtani. But Dave Roberts, to me, just solidified himself as a Hall of Fame manager with his second World Series championship as a manager, and managing this team of superstars and getting them to buy into being a team. And got to credit the organization. And regardless if you like the Dodgers or not, or their payroll, the Dodgers outplayed the Yankees in this World Series, and they deserve a championship. And just so happy to Freddie Freeman. And Hazel May from Sportsnet did a great job last night with interviewing Freddie Freeman and some other players like Teoscar Hernandez, the former Blue Jay, and Kevin Kiermaier as well. So gonna miss baseball. That's it for Major League Baseball until spring training. Spring training opens up in the middle of February. So Dodgers win 7-6. By the way, we have other playoffs coming up this weekend for the Canadian Football League. The East and West semifinals take place this Saturday, November 2nd. Ottawa at Toronto at 3 p.m. at beautiful BMO Field. And their halftime show was announced by the Toronto Argonauts social media pages today. They're going to have a YouTube tribute band at halftime. So if you're a big fan of the Canadian Football League, fan of the Toronto Argonauts, and a fan of the YouTube band, please get your tickets at argonauts.ca/single game tickets. Again, it's going to be a YouTube tribute band performing at BMO Field at the halftime of the Argos Ottawa game, which will be on TSN or TSN 1050 on the radio if you can't get down there. And then the other playoff game for the Canadian Football League will be the West semifinal between BC and Saskatchewan. 6:30 kickoff, TSN, and also on TSN radio as well. And the winner of Ottawa-Toronto will go to Montreal for the East Final on Saturday, November 9th at 3 o'clock. And the winner of BC-Saskatchewan will go to Winnipeg to Princess Otto Stadium for the 5th straight West Final there. And we'll see what happens there as well. But looking forward to it. And the Grey Cup this year, the 111th Grey Cup, is on Sunday, November 17th at 6 o'clock at BC Place in beautiful Vancouver, Canada. And one say we got some more comments. 716 Sports Blizzard, great job, Chris. And Go Dodgers. Thank you, Robbie, for watching this show as well. And also, guys, I want to wish everybody watching this show or listening to on audio a very happy Halloween. And yes, this year I am giving out candy. I bought some candy and I will be giving out candy to the trick-or-treaters later tonight. And that's about it. Again, thank you to Robbie and everybody for watching this show. And to my guest, Brian Koziol from WGR 550 in Buffalo and the pre and post game host on the Buffalo Sabres Radio Network for coming on here today. And again, the next Small Talk podcast with co-hosts Chris Palme, Marlene Sharp, again, Friday, November 1st, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, with our special guests, Jason Weisbrod and Garth Herberg from Spectrum Laboratory. So check out this show, and I think you'll have a great time. And I will be back on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show on Monday night at 7 o'clock. And I will make that announcement of my guest on my social media pages as well. And that's about it. Again, thank you to everyone watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph and on WQEE 99.1 FM. And before we wrap this up, guys, the Sabres Friday night take on the Islanders at 7 o'clock at the KeyBank Center, and Saturday night 7 o'clock at the Little Caesars Arena against the Detroit Red Wings. And Thursday night football, guys, we have the New York Jets at home to the Houston Texans at 8:15 p.m. And I'm picking Houston to win this game 20-10. Houston 20-10 over the Jets, who are very dysfunctional right now. And even at home, I don't like their chances against the Houston Texans, who are going to be without former Buffalo Bills wide receiver Stephon Diggs, out for the rest of the year as well. And the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday at 4:05 take on Doug Peterson, their former head coach, and Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars at Lincoln Financial Field. And that's another game the Eagles should win as well. So that's about it. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the afternoon, and we'll see you back here tomorrow night at 7 o'clock for the Small Talk podcast with Marlene Sharp and myself. And Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show will return on this Monday, November 4th at 7 o'clock. Thanks so much to Brian Koziol, and we'll see you tomorrow night on the Small Talk podcast at 7 o'clock Eastern. Have a great day, everybody, and great afternoon, and happy Halloween from Canada.